What is up, guys? And right now, again, there's a storm out right now, and you might hear some cloud noise. Who knows? But today, we're gonna be talking about a couple things, just a couple tech videos. I haven't posted in a while. Sorry. I've been really focused on like marketing my photography and trying to earn more money so I can make income towards tech and so I can buy more technology to make more videos. Real quick thing is I'm gonna show you a product that I didn't get to test out and I've been using it, the literal waste of a money version of itself, but I'm gonna get a second one to actually do something with it. First thing is actually this V-mount battery. Now on camera, when I hold it next to my head, it looks kind of small. I know that a lot of y'all that don't know what V-mount batteries are, you're like, oh, that looks huge. This is actually pretty massive. I mean, really, it's actually pretty massive. I know out there, there's like the red batteries are like slightly bigger, but this is huge. And we're talking about 230 watts, 15,600 milliamps, 16.8 volts actually. So a little bit stronger than the common 15 volts. I was using it for my VL 200. And on the internet, I did my hardcore research first. Minimum 200 watts for maximum output. Okay, I got a battery. I paid 200 bucks for it. And of course, there's $99 batteries, but I went for the one with the good amount of watt hours, the good amount of capacity, something that's strong and that I could use it for my lights and in convenience of the moment, take it off and put it on a camera. Just something that's really good and strong as one for now. And so when I get my second one, is gonna supplement a good basis I have already. But on the internet, nowhere did it say that I need two of them to power the VL200. So the VL200 has two slots, two V-mount slots, right? And the VL300, but the VL150 has one. And even the actual press release, people who made reviews, technically this is still a technically new product, and there was quite a bit of videos on it and also a bit of articles, but nothing says that you need two for it to turn on. They say, oh, for maximum output, use two batteries, use 200 watts. And there was a video saying like, oh yeah, I measured it. You need to really like around like 220 watts. So at 230, I'm thinking like, all right, I'm really solid with this. There was a benefit of actually getting the one large one over the two $99 ones, because the two $99 together only puts out 198 watts, and I get more out of this one. Sorry, my light just turned off there. I don't know if you guys noticed. If it ran off a V-mount battery, that would have been perfect. So there was nothing making me actually get a V-mount battery until I got this thing. The light output during daylight is actually usable. So I was gonna take it with me on set so that I can, get a portrait that's backlit, but actually fill in those shadows, because sometimes the grain and some of the low light I see in those shadows are just a bit too aggressive. And this would just pretty up the pictures, and especially if I can shape that light with an octagon or a reflector. And something like, it's not like one of those things where like I bought something and did not think at all or do any research. And it's like those filmmakers that buy red cameras and they buy the bundle pack with one red mini mag, monitor, red V-mount battery, and they know something, they actually spend a little bit on like rods and some cables or something else. They bought this, and they kind of went through their budget at peak, and for them to find out that it didn't come with a mount, and something that was just something they overlooked, right? Something they could have just researched about or thoroughly looked through and make sure that it's ready to shoot, but like it didn't come in the mount, and you're like, fuck, I already went through all my budget. And when you include those in your budget, you always make different decisions, and those different decisions is variable based off your research. Now, I'm not those dumb guys, and I know psychology say that people naturally give themselves the benefit of the doubt while criticizing others. Like if this was happening to someone else, I probably would have called them dumb. and you should research harder. But I really researched. Nothing, no one has ever said that it won't work unless you have two. It says for max output, use two. So I'm thinking I'm gonna get some output if I use one. Nope. It's just, and the thing that threw me off is that aperture actually you can use one. On a 300D, actually, there's two variations you can use depending on which V mount you use. There's one side that you can use at a lower capacity, and the other side you drain the battery quick, but you can use it at max capacity. In some sense, like it makes the VL 150 literally that much more of a portable bundle budget friendly option, because now we were talking about like because my battery is 200, I have to buy, I'm gonna, you know, just for the consistency, I have to buy another $200 battery. So we're talking about $400 in battery, $550 in the light, and you know, with that much, because it dangles off of your C stand or light stand, and at that point, with that much weight on it, I would say get a light stand, because you're talking about something that could tip over, and I'm not sure sandbags can actually really help, because you probably need a lot of leg room to help reinforce it. So we're talking about like, you know, 120 to 150. That's over $1,000. Where the VL 150, because you can use one battery, and you don't need $200 for the 230 watts, you actually could go less. So you can pay 150. You can need only one of them, which I recommend get multiple batteries. But as a start, to make it portable, and because the whole setup is not that huge, say you get a small octagon, we're talking about like literally almost $400 to $500 less than the portability of the VL200. That bothered me. I just wanted to mention that. Full reviews coming soon. I just really wanted to test the real world making of actually working with this with VML batteries in studio, in light. Cables a little annoying. I would actually even use batteries just for indoors, just so when I bring it to client shoots or bring it on set, to avoid cables on the ground. I'll probably do it. Don't get me wrong, you do get used to cables. You get used to it. Like over time, you find a way, especially if you buy, I don't know, I can't find that, but gaffer's tape. Especially if you buy gaffer's tape. Um, it, holy fuck, I forgot what I was talking about. Gaffer's tape. Why was I saying gaffer's tape? Fuck. Oh yeah, to tie down the cables so they don't move anywhere. Those cables are thick. I would say around this thick. Pretty beefy cables, and they can be a tripping hazard. Next thing I'm gonna talk about is, I know this video is gonna be half of talk about battery and half talking about why I say the R5 is not a filmmaker's camera. I know a lot of y'all is gonna agree with me, and a lot of y'all is gonna, that are hardcore YouTube fans, and are gonna say any different. And now I'm gonna mention this. The R5 is not a filmmaker's camera, and I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not a creative director. I love to learn about it, and I know a lot of it. And based off what I've seen so far, the R5 is probably one of the greatest YouTubers camera that's gonna come out. Hands down. It's gonna be one of the best YouTubers camera to come out, because it does exactly what YouTubers want. And if we're talking about like, oh, what do you mean? What does YouTubers want? What does YouTubers want that's different than filmmakers? YouTubers love a few things. YouTubers love a perfect balance. The camera records, the average recording, the recording that the YouTubers will use constantly will be 4K, 10-bit. So when we look at that, why is 4K 10-bit? Why is that the sweet spot for YouTubers? Great flexible quality, lower memory than RAW. There's YouTubers that buy the Blackmagic Pocket 6K, the C500 Mark II, and all of them in consistency say, we don't shoot RAW. I shoot 4K ProRes. They both, on both sides, they both said it. And that's probably what they're gonna use the R5 for, is that 4K ProRes. It's gonna be great. It's gonna make the image look significantly better while also not breaking memory. And also the thing is that they are very aware, very in tune with YouTube compression. So they just need a little bit better than 4K, but a lot better, a lot more memory, a lot more work is not going to translate as well as just having that little oomph of ProRes. What's the next thing? YouTubers love, love B-roll. They love B-roll. YouTubers die for B-roll. People even have B-roll challenges or their video. There was actually a YouTuber that made a beautiful configuration of a helmet and a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K. Awesome. And then actually it was so good that on a real set they actually mimicked it. But their whole video that the movie they made with it was all B-roll and transitions. 100% of it. YouTubers love that. And what else is gonna give you those options then? 4K, 10-bit, 120 frames, and also 8K, but you can only record up to 20 minutes. That sounds like the perfect quality B-roll. And if they're making product shots, they're making sponsored videos, this will sell that. Oh, this is unacceptable for weddings and all for all us freelancers. I'm thinking so like you have to rethink that. Canon never says best wedding or film camera. This is for the people who, and when they say filmmakers, they're really referring to YouTubers because YouTubers are technically filmmakers, but they don't really mean like indie filmmakers or blockbuster film or whatever. These are meant for really short bursts of images, really good shots. They're as useful as a drone. They are long talking head dialogues unless you're using the ProRes version. And at the end of the day, like I always look at a couple things why it's not really a cinema camera either, is that I always look at how much of the ecosystem of that camera is meant to further and grow with me as I grow. If you buy a C200, C500, Arri Alexa Mini LF, even the Blackmagic Pocket 4K Ursa Mini, if you buy that and a lens and a battery and probably a few memories, you can shoot. If you get more money, you upgrade your gear. Does it integrate with your tech? Yes, it does. If you get a better version of those same materials and replace it, does it better your experience with those cinema cameras? Yes, it does. That doesn't happen with the R5. You can get a monitor, common batteries, so you can actually probably put it in a cage and put a V-mount battery, but that's kind of really it when it comes to pushing the boundaries of that camera. There's no XLR port or SDI port, and that's what I mean by like getting better. At the end of the day, like when you switch monitors and you need as low latency as possible, micro HDMI is not going to do that for you. If 8K really mattered to filmmakers and that's the end all be all, 8K raw, and that's all we want to think about, that's all we need. If people worry about 8K video, no one would shoot Arri. Arri is actually one of the lowest resolution in cinema. No one would shoot Arri. No one would shoot even Panavision. No one would shoot any of them. I know I'm comparing this to a very large cinema camera and just like, oh, for $4,000 it's gonna be really great. And my idea is that like the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K is better for video. And I really mean it by better for video. It's not a better camera because the R5 is a better photo camera. It's an incredible, disgustingly powerful monster of a photo camera over a video camera. And it's one of those really good, passionate part-time filmmaker while he's busy doing full-time photography. It is what it is. And then when we look at like 4K plus raw, and the fact that the R5 can only give you raw only at 8K, I know people are gonna actually the next iteration, people are gonna test the camera, say it's amazing, saying, oh, I just have a few things in wish list, and people are gonna say like, oh, I wish I could shoot 4K raw or 5K raw, or these different flavors in between. The same thing they said about Blackmagic. And by the way, shout out to Blackmagic. People said that like we have to thank Sony for paving the way for pushing camera companies to actually give out more. I would like to say, like, if you're gonna say shout out to Sony, shout out to Blackmagic. Blackmagic coming out with something in the price point and sometime under the price point, because I know as the Blackmagic Pocket 4K was half the price of the EOS R when that first launched, and currently the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K is less than the price of a A7 R3. Shout out to Blackmagic because it gives you raw capability for an affordable ecosystem. And to be honest, it's slowly getting there with the EOS R5 and probably the A7S3. But the overall thing is, I like to measure things based off like price ratio. When like compared to the price of the body, and if I can afford the body, that means I can afford this. There's no one that's buying a Bugatti and buying only a one-story, 1,000 square feet house. It doesn't make sense. Now, if you're buying a Bugatti, most likely you can buy many other things. If you buy an A7 R4, most likely you can buy the memory cards for it. Actually, no, if you buy a Arri Alexa LF, you can most likely buy the memory cards that go for it. By the way, speaking of the LF, disgustingly expensive memory cards. When we look at the whole picture of like, oh, for only $4,000, but I think it was 1 minute was like 8 gigabytes. Hold on, let me look at it. Yeah. So 1 minute of 8K RAW on the R5 is 9.5 gigabytes. Right now I've been recording, obviously I haven't edited this yet, but recording I'm at 35 minutes. If I was recording, by the way, I couldn't record on R5 this much because it would have overheated. Not making fun of the overheat, just stating the facts. But at 35 minutes, that would have been 302 gigabytes. That would have exceeded what I actually could have possibly recorded. And that's only in SD cards. I don't have CFX Express cards. I always look at the ratio of like 4K plus RAW. You know, if any camera that records 4K RAW and above, I always want to calculate how much it is to get 10 terabytes of memory for that particular camera. And if I budgeted for 10 terabytes, could I budget for something else? And the reason why I do this is because if I get a cinema camera like this, how much does it cost for me not to worry on a shoot? So, and what does that mean, not worry? If I don't have to worry about battery, I don't have to worry about memory, I don't have to worry about anything else. With the R5, no matter how you slice it, if you shoot RAW or shoot 4K 120, there's something you're worried about. And for me, it kind of makes the R5 unusable for stuff I do, because I would like to shoot full RAW. Not really 8K, because that's just massive, but I would love to shoot 6K RAW, and it doesn't provide that for me. And I know people say you don't need 6K RAW. You're shooting 1080. Why are you doing that? And the reason why is for me to work with clients and charge a premium, I want the capability of shooting. If they want to pay the premium, say, hey, I offer this. This drastically makes the workflow and the need and demand a lot more aggressive, but it brings up this much quality. It's an option, and sometimes they'll say, and to them when I tell them the premium up price, and they say like pennies, and they choose it, I want to deliver. So that's actually something I would like to deliver. And so if I had the camera that can shoot more, like they shoot 4K ProRes, but it has 6K or 8K RAW, and they want that RAW capability, they want it to come out as the best quality Q0 that it can be, I want no problems with it. So and also sometimes for me, for fun, if I'm doing a project with friends, I want to not think about or worry about memory management or battery management if I can budget in to have an unlimited amount. So, and it always starts off from memory. So as much memory as I can get, it leaves me budget for the rest. C500 Mark II, 1 terabyte CFS Express card, around $870. For 10 terabytes, it'll be $8,700. Okay, that's extremely expensive, ridiculously expensive. But if I can afford to buy, and by the way, this is talking about if I bought the C500 Mark II in cash. If I can buy a $15,000, $16,000 camera, I can put $8,000 or half that right now and half later into memory card. I can't. It hurts, but it makes sense because that's in the price range. It's around like it's within the price of the body. Area LF, an Area LF Mini. The 1 TB memory card. I think it was $2,300. So for 10 of them, $23,000. That's a car, and that's just in capture cards for the LF. But the Mini and the Mini LF is between it's between $80,000 to $120,000. So compared to the price of the body, again, if you bought this cash, if you could afford this, you can afford 10 terabytes of memory. Now, my favorite little camera that I am trying to own, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K. If I went the expensive route, went to the T7 cards, so I can even shoot a Q0. 10 terabytes is only $1,700. The camera, after being discounted $500, is only $2,000. If I can afford $2,000, it makes sense I could afford another $1,700 probably, and I could probably get away with a little bit for now, but over time, it's not gonna take long for me to get $1,700 for memory. And you know what that means for me, especially with a Blackmagic Pocket 6K? The fact that I don't have to shell out 10 terabytes in CFast cards or CFS Express cards. I'm doing it in SSDs. It makes the workflow cheaper, everything faster, but that also leaves a lot more budget for batteries. And if I could buy more if I can save more memory, buy more batteries, then I don't have to worry about batteries. Now, if I'm at the deficit where I bought the R5 and I'm doing a project, and I'm like, well, 10 terabytes for the R5 is $8,700. That's over double the price of the camera. So if you buy the R5, you can't buy 10 terabytes of memory. You can probably, they're YouTubers. YouTubers can afford it. But when you look at the overall thing, people was paying $3,800 for a camera, $3,900. Can't really afford to shell out over double the price in memory cards. And then also, out of all the cameras I mentioned, weirdly enough, the R5, because of resolution and not because of quality, I can't say quality because airy dynamic range, airy color science, Panavision workflow, we're talking about like all these cameras will put out better image than R5. I'm sorry, I don't care what you tell me. It is how it is. These camera companies live to make cinema raw look amazing. Don't care what you tell me. It's not gonna look better. It's gonna look good. Don't get me wrong. It's probably gonna look great, crazy. And the stuff they put in front of it, amazing. But I promise you, put those flagship 4K plus cinema cameras in front of it, the same place, same sequence, it's gonna look better. I don't care. We're talking about 1,000 minutes of recording with 8K raw and also 4K 120 because they eat up a lot of memory too. That's not a lot. That is actually an extremely low amount. And 1,000 minutes, you're no longer at the I shouldn't worry thing. And what I mean by I shouldn't worry is like shooting like 3 days straight without moving memory cards, and then you shoot again and just say, oh, I put this in the bank. I wrote it down saying yesterday's list. You can get away with it 17 hours. So it's not like you can shoot 3 days consecutively without worry about something. You might, especially if you have like you have like 6+ hours each day of video. That's why I find the 6K a very happy middle ground. YouTubers find 4K ProRes happy middle ground. I find 6K the perfect amount. Also, other thing is, sorry for my language, is the oh shit factor. If you were to, let's say this, drop or forget a memory card on set, you lose one drop in the river, in the gutters, gotta redo a shoot, and you have no memory cards, you have no backup, how much of a oh shit factor is that? For the Blackmagic Pocket 6K, not really, because you actually can spend $80 and get a 500 gigabyte SSD and shoot something and get what you need. If not, get an SD card and shoot ProRes. But let's talk about just raw. How much of a oh shit factor would it be to get memory for your video? Not much. And in indie filmmakers, that last minute, that oh shit factor comes up a lot. For the R5, not the same. The oh shit factor is really oh shit is when you have to go pay $530 for 500 gigabytes. And then the fact that that's gonna last only 40 minutes, so you have to manage your record timing very aggressively, and you already have to because of the overheating thing. Again, this camera's not meant for it. It's meant for photography, but the overheating thing is something you worry about, and that's kind of what inhibits filmmakers. But most likely, again, filmmakers wouldn't care if all they had was an R5, they would record ProRes. They don't. Filmmakers do use anything to make film. They use anything. They take any tools they can. They use it to the best of their ability. Overall, like I would always have backups, especially with those cameras. I would have backups with all cameras. Always have your backups, but you always got to measure the oh shit factor and how much of a stress it is to work with these cameras. Now, the R5, I know I've been chatting on it this whole time, but let me talk about great things about it. One, the fact that it has Sony A9 II levels of photography speeds with A7R3 levels resolution. Sony does its best to always keep things separate. That's kind of how I like it. I like my cameras to be separate. I don't like a all-in-one bundle. Again, YouTubers love that because they can get their thumbnail with the same camera they got their B-roll, the same camera they record their 120, the same camera they use to flip out the screen and do their vlogs. That's just how they like things. That's how they love it. That's for them. For me, I like my cameras separate. Even though I use the camera I use here for my photography, I use the lens I use for my video I don't use that not once for photography. I use my 50 mil, and I'm trying to get an 85 mil for soon. But I like to keep these separate, and so does Sony. Sony keeps their A7S lineup. That's for filmmakers. The A7 III lineup is really the all-around YouTubers camera, and the A7R lineup is probably the best for photo. Actually, no, it's really good for photo, but for overall photo and for sports photography, the A9. And Canon really try to group all of them together, and overall it is a great camera, and I can see myself in scenarios where all of that makes sense, and then I would love to capture fast shots. To be honest, I know I said this is not meant for wedding film, and it really sucks at it. Don't get me wrong, unless you're shooting just 4K and nothing else. But the possibility of knowing that it could overheat over time, but all cameras can overheat, by the way. That's not just only Canon. It's just that there's a worry. We haven't tested anything that Canon can overheat faster than other cameras. For wedding photos, it is amazing. I would say for photos, it's gonna tie closely or be good second place to the A7R3, just because A7R3 has that eye autofocus, and as far as I know, it is a bit more locked down, is a bit more securing than the Canon. But either way, guys, I am bothered that I had to get two of these. The A7R5 is a good photography camera with a video, and not for the specs, but because it's a very extreme scenario to be in. You can't record at the best quality unlimited. It is expensive to have unlimited memory, in a sense, and also I don't want to really use a tool that if I use it to the best of ability, after 20 minutes it makes it immobilize itself from being used for any further until like 20 minutes later. And I don't want anything that I can't use all the time. But either way, if you guys like my opinions, please give a comment down below. If you have any things to say, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys the next time. Sorry for the delayed video. Bye.